Okay, so I just wanted to record this video to sort of prove a point. So I saw a video from Jev where Jev was playing like Splitgate 2. And this clip was like shared all over the XDefiant subreddit. That's how I found it. And he was basically saying that people will sort of if there's a game with like a mechanic or a high skill gap, people will essentially instead of adjusting to it, they'll complain about it in hopes that the game will die. Basically, right? Um, they apparently complain to get others to complain, to get others to quit the game, to then make the game die out of spite for a mechanic that they refuse to use being in the game. And I must say that as nice as it is to assume that this is the case, this is not the case. There are people that silently quit. A lot of people do silently quit this game here, XDefiant. It's a really good game. You know, it's a game that I stand by. I think it's the best first-person shooter that we've seen in a very, very long time. But mechanically, though, this game makes a lot less sense to casual players as time goes on. So it's an ability shooter, right? You have abilities. This is what, abilities mixed with your loadout, mixed with your playstyle. It is supposed to have a healthy balance between what dictates a gunfight, right? Now the crazy movement circumvents basically everything. You go from basically shooting at a guy who's moving normally. Let's just assume that this target right here is sort of like strafing left or right. You go from shooting a guy and the gunfight basically requiring a base amount of skill, like whoever has the fastest reaction time, whoever has the best aim wins. And then you just add jumping, like very sporadic jumping to the gunfight. You are now forced to put in a fuck ton of effort, have a fuck ton of skill, and just be 110% focused in on the game to be able to kill them, especially if you're playing on keyboard and mouse. If you're playing on controller, you have aim assist, that's helping you a little bit. I'm playing on controller, by the way. But I've had so many gunfights where it goes from normal to suddenly I'm jumping I'm basically just fucking shooting at a meth head. And to a casual player, I don't care what you say, to a casual player, it's not that they can't do the mechanic, it's that it's very fucking annoying. Okay, people quit games that have this in it. Like if you want to look at Quake for example, right? Quake has crazy movement, but it's not movement that you could really abuse. It's just crazy movement. You know what I mean? And in this game, you could tell by the way people play, it's abused. It's not intended. Now, I have a heavy AK loadout here, right? This is my go-to loadout. It has basically these attachments right here, right? You have the reinforced stock, grip tape, fast mag, reflex, tactical. And I recently unlocked bronze for this, which makes the gun look so much better. Having like an actual proper fucking, receiver cover or dust cover, whatever the fuck that thing is called. So I don't really jump shot with this class. I more so just kind of like hang around and I sort of just beam people and shit. It has very, very, very minimal recoil and it's very controllable. But then you have people that run classes like this, for example, right? This has the leather grips, the folded stock, etc. They have their class kitted out for movement, on top of them using something like a Cronus Zen or a Cronus Max or like a Zim, I think that's what they call it, where they use keyboard and mouse with controller aim assist and shit. You have people running essentially anti-aim assist scripts while running crazy movement classes. Oh, and if you haven't noticed already, I have my fucking controls as default, right? It's just default controls, R1 for the landmine, L1 for the ADS system. But people that are quote unquote skilled, I mean, you might be able to you might call me a noob for simply just shooting and shit. But these quote unquote skilled players, I'm going to tell you a secret on what they do, right? For people who don't know, you go to settings, you go to controller, you change your controller to skill thumb brawler, so you could spam crouch with the fucking R3 button and spam jump with L1, and I can't remember which other one it is. Also, reverse S-curve aim is the best aim of the game. Then you basically knock your acceleration speed multiplier to 2.0. This is what they use, by the way. These are the settings that they use. And I'm trying to remember what else it was that they also do. But anywho, essentially what they do, these skilled players, quote unquote, is they fly in and they just do this. what exactly about that is good? Like what exactly about that demands skill from the user? All it really does is push the skill requirement onto the other player, the player that you're shooting at. When I'm just spamming crouch, basically, for example, right? If I'm just like shooting at someone and just fucking doing this move, what skill does that demand? Right? I refuse to acknowledge this as a skill. It's not. You're just hitting crouch over and over again. And I refuse to acknowledge. I mean, this is probably not the best mobility class. This probably has a little bit better mobility. But just, I've seen people just fly. And they're just chronozetting. I mean, I've seen people with like a vector ACP, right? Map me from this distance with perfect accuracy, no recoil whatsoever. As you can see, like even when I'm, fucking controlling the recoil, it's a little ridiculous. But people will just fly and just pull this move, and apparently that's good. Apparently that's skill, and that's why people have problems with the movement. Not because they don't want to do it, but because it just simply doesn't. It doesn't even look like it belongs in the game. You know what I mean, right? You remember how like XDefiant, when this game was first being talked about, it was first like the beta or the alpha was coming out. This game was basically talked up to be a sort of almost like a return to classic COD. This is how the community marketed the game. If I'm not mistaken, that's how the developers intended the game to be. They wanted the game to be like classic COD. Now, what do you find in classic COD? You find the ability to jump shot. Oh, I just pressed L1 instead. You find the ability to jump shot, but as soon as you land, there was always in every old COD game there was a penalty. So in this game, you jump, you land, you keep walking at normal speed. But in COD, you would jump, you would land, you go slow for a little second, and then you start going normal speed again. It was a trade-off to make sure that you had to actually be good at the game, good at being fucking accurate, in order to execute a kill after executing a jump shot or some shit. But this game was originally talked up to be like a classic Call of Duty game. It's the only reason why this game got attention. Now, that might sound brutal, that might sound harsh, but as an XDefiant fan, someone who very much loves this game, I am not willing to ignore the facts. And that is a fact. People came to this game because it was marketed as a classic COD sort of comeback. But when the game came out, I guess before the game came out, there was like some internal shit leaking out. I don't know what fucking news game magazine company picked up on this, but there was some shit that came out that there were some internal struggles over at the team working on XDefiant. Some people wanted it to be like a new movement shooter, like the new COD games, fucking 2042 and shit. But others wanted it to be like the classic COD game. Now, what do we have here? We have a weird hybrid between a movement shooter and something that is a class-based ability shooter. Something that is supposed to have balance fundamentally written into its fucking genes, right? You have abilities, each ability counters the other ability, of different guns for different ability, or not abilities, but like different circumstances, different maps, a different like map, like gun strength and shit, like a really close quarters map, like that one Echelon headquarters map. You might want to run like a Vector or a MP7 or some shit, while on Zoo you might want to run like an AK, right, or an LMG. Balance is supposed to be written into the game's code. It kind of is, right? All the abilities that are in the game have counters, just different play styles sort of written into it. You could tell that, Gilly, for example, this is meant to be played with like a suppressor class or some shit. You can actually throw a grenade while still in sort of stealth mode, which tells me that maybe throwing knives might be coming in the future. Or maybe you're supposed to just sneak up behind people, throw a flash, then come out of, invisibility and kill people and shit. That's how it's meant to be. That's how it's meant to be played. It's just different little trade-offs and shit. But meanwhile, you have a movement system, which, like I said earlier in the video, counters... It just ignores everything. It just counters everything. You could have a guy running invisibility right now, right? He's playing his little play style. He's doing what he has to do to get behind the enemy team. Then you have a guy who sees him, snaps at him, and just fucking like just jumps like crazy, or just crouch spams like crazy. Which, by the way, that's a setting I forgot to mention. There's a toggle crouch feature. It is somewhere in here, and people, it's somewhere like toggle crouch versus hold to crouch. There it is. So basically, these people when they want to crouch spam, they don't manually whack the button again to like stand back up. They do the old trick of having it to where you hold the crouch to crouch, you let go to stand up, and they just do this. I've seen people crouch spam so hard, this is what it looks like. And I'm supposed to believe that this requires skill. That this is somehow a skillful mechanic. People that are only good at the game could apparently execute this. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't even have my fucking controls set to the skill thumb brawler, but basically, if I let the so look at this shit. So I pull the trigger, and I'm crouching so hard that from his perspective, he would see a head that is moving at Mach speed up and down, impossible to hit. Basically, it's glitching out the netcode, glitching out the aim assist, which, by the way, the jump spamming does too. This and the jump spamming glitches out the netcode, gives you an unfair advantage. And that's what people classify as skill for some reason. But anyways, back onto like gameplay philosophy and shit. So if you want to have a movement shooter, fine, right? Make a Quake. Okay, Quake 1, Quake 2, Quake 3, I don't know. Make a Quake. That's a movement shooter. It's meant to be a movement shooter. It's fundamentally written to be a movement shooter. The fucking netcode supports it. But in a game like this, if you want to have an ability shooter, what are you doing trying to copy Quake? I mean, also, yes, so that's the other setting as well. It's auto run. So these people, they turn on auto run, they turn the threshold to 100, so they could they could still comfortably walk if they need to. But they have auto run to mix with their crazy jump shots, so they could literally just spin around and shit. They could instantly execute a sprint into basically just full speed. No penalty whatsoever. No penalty at all. Just full speed sprinting. Yeah. So there's a particular reason why it is dying. It is not the community. It's not the average player's fault. People want to keep pushing it to the average player. It absolutely is not the average player's fault. The fault lies squarely on the people that abuse the mechanics. That's just a matter of the fact. There's no point of sugarcoating it. There's no point of beating around the bush. There are normal players who don't even use the internet. Like they don't go on Reddit to complain. They don't go on Twitter to complain. There are normal people that I know that dropped this game and didn't even complain. There was no complaints. Like that's not even an incentive. There's no incentive to complain. Because people on the internet have changed, at some point where back then people used to be a little more reasonable. Nowadays, you complain about anything. Even you could even complain about cancer, and somebody would come swinging at you, defending cancer, right? That's what we're dealing with here. So people don't really have an incentive to complain online, anyways. Why would they? It's pointless. People have just silently quit. So yeah, hopefully this video helps clear some shit up, because as someone who has been playing FPS games since 2005 or 2006, I definitely know what I'm talking about. I started fucking FPS back in the PlayStation 2. Okay, like this shit it's not new to me. I know what kills a game and what helps a game thrive. In a game like this, I'm sorry, the movement is killing it. So yeah.